The video's recording. Now I'm gonna do a little clap. Ready? So we got the clap. Whoa. No, we don't. Maybe you do. Just kidding. All right. Hey guys, it's me, a guy you don't know from the internet. A guy you don't know yet. Today I'm gonna be talking about something very near and dear to my heart. This Netflix movie that I found out about last week. The Wrong Paris is a Netflix rom-com that was produced by MPCA, who are apparently known for making low-budget films, which I find hard to believe. Do you guys know Netflix still made movies, by the way? I know. I feel like I haven't seen a Netflix movie since the Stranger Things kids turned 40. The movie stars iCarly and this guy. Person, Person food? Does that say person food? Kind of sounds like a fancy name they'd put on like a bag of kibble for humans. Oh, person food? My favorite. Do you think he has that accent in his name for real? Like, is that in his birth certificate? Maybe it's like a sick ass, like, bedazzled birth certificate with like hot rod flames. The movie stars iCarly, Pierson Fode, and this hat. An interesting little side note, Pierson Fode actually had his debut as an actor in iCarly, the children's sitcom, not the web show. I don't know if he was in that. So that's pretty cool that he got to star in this movie alongside the lead of the show he first appeared in as a side character. I gotta imagine that's probably like a pretty cool full circle moment for him. So the movie's called The Wrong Paris, and I don't know if this says more about the title of the movie or just me being an idiot, but I keep completely forgetting the title of this movie. Before I watched it, every time I had to look it up, I would just type iCarly rom-com into Google, which is weird because it's not like a complicated title. Why don't I give you a second to think about what the movie The Wrong Paris could be about? If you said iCarly thinks she's going to Paris, France, but she ends up in some other place called Paris, you would be correct. That is what this movie's about. But how do we get there? Well, I guess you're just gonna have to take that mechanical bull ride with me. And maybe, if we're lucky, we might just come out the other end having experienced a heartwarming tale of unlikely love about two people from different backgrounds learning to see the true value and inner beauty in each other.
Or maybe it's just fucking ripped abs washing a horse.
That was in the trailer. Alright, without further ado, I present to you... What was it called? The movie opens up on a big old barn, and we see someone inside welding with a mask on and sparks flying. And right away, real quick, I feel like I have to make a note about the camera work here. I want to be clear, I know literally nothing about cinematography. I'm filming this on my phone. Hi. So I'm absolutely not the authority on this kind of thing. But they do this weird, like, vignette sort of blur effect thing around the edges of the shot, and I don't know why they do that. It looks really weird. Maybe somebody that knows what they're talking about can let me know why somebody would want to blur out the entire edge of the shot. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt like I should mention it because they do it a lot. Oh shit, they blurred me. We don't get to see much of the project they're working on, but it seems like some kind of metal sculpture. The welder takes off their mask, and it's Carly. Carly's name in this movie is Dawn. We see a shot of a jar full of squirreled away cash labeled Paris Fund, and Dawn stops to look at photos of the Eiffel Tower and I think her mom. But don't worry about the mom. She's not important. Also, she's dead. This whole opening sequence is set to like a French version of the song These Boots Are Made for Walking, which actually sets up Dawn's character pretty well. She's a small town country girl with dreams of going to France. The big city. I guess they don't have cities in Texas? I don't know. Dawn goes inside her house and we meet her family having breakfast together. Dawn lives with her two younger sisters and her grandma, Birdie. The younger sister's like a shitty Gen Z kid who just like sticks her foot in her mouth all the time by saying rude things by accident.
Did anyone get the mail this morning?
Nope.
And the older sister is sitting at the breakfast table with over-ear headphones on, watching a reality TV show called The Honey Pot. Remember that for later.
I got the mail.
Let's go, Birdie, coming in clutch. We see that the letter's from an art school in Paris, France. The right Paris, but we'll get to that. Dawn applied to art school and she was accepted. Hooray! But uh-oh, what's this? Her request for financial aid was declined. No. Dawn says the estimated cost would be $30,000 a year. And then Birdie asks,
Is your Paris fund going to cover that?
I don't know, Birdie, I don't think there's $60,000 in that jar. I don't think you're fitting $60,000 anything in there. Dawn kind of just avoids the question and leaves to go to work. The older of her two sisters, Emily, follows her out and... Jesus. Emily's like, I saw you kind of awkwardly run out the door when she asked about the money? What was that about? Dawn tells Emily that she used a hefty chunk of her Paris fund to pay for their grandma Bertie's medical bills after a fall she had. I feel like they really did her dirty with that. A fall? Did they have to give her like the most old lady injury ever? Like the writers needed a reason for Dawn to have spent her Paris fund, so they're just like, maybe like her dumb idiot grandma could just like fall on the ground. Like she just like falls on the ground because she's so old and then she has to go to the hospital. So Dawn says she only has enough money left in her Paris fund to pay for the first year's tuition, and she asks Emily not to tell Bertie about it. Emily's like, damn, that sucks, but all I know is reality TV, so I don't really know how to help you. And then she asks for a ride to the Piggly Wiggly. I'm not really sure what a Piggly Wiggly is, but I know it's something they have in small towns, so maybe it's like a shindig or like a hoedown. I don't know, but whatever it is, Emily wants to go there. Dawn works as a waitress at your like typical small town diner. This guy Levi, who turns out to be Dawn's ex, asks her out and she says no because it's been like 2 years since they've dated and she's over him. And also he's literally dating someone else right now.
I know for a fact that you've been dating Tammy from the DQ.
And he's just like, where'd you hear that? And she's like, do you see the diner that we're in? Or like the town we live in? I could throw a rock and hit Tammy at the DQ from here. And then he says,
Guess I'm worth talking about then.
and leaves. And we never see him again. I guess you're not that worth talking about, considering you just walk out that door and cease to exist forever. You gotta love a character that's just like already in a place, like a restaurant, and then the main character walks in and they talk to them and then they just leave. Like, weren't you eating? You were already in the restaurant when she came in. He just like finished his meal and then sat there waiting for Dawn to come in so he could say his one line and then walk out the door and die. Dawn's sister Emily comes into the diner. I guess she's done at the Piggly Wiggly. And she's been doing a little scheming, a little plotting. In a twist of fate, it turns out Emily's favorite reality TV show, The Honey Pot, a dating competition show, which is basically just The Bachelor, is going to Paris for their upcoming season. Well, it would be a twist of fate, except Dawn pretty much hates this idea. Emily tells her that she would get a $20,000 appearance fee just for going on the show, and then she could just, like, take the money and stay in Paris when she gets eliminated. Dawn says she doesn't even watch the show, so Emily offers to coach her, and Dawn's just like, fine. So as I mentioned before, I think the Honey Pot is basically like an in-universe version of The Bachelor, which could be helpful for understanding the show, but I've never seen The Bachelor, so I'm just gonna describe how the Honey Pot works anyway. Basically, they find one super rich hunk, and they bring a bunch of single women to his super sick mansion, and he eliminates them one by one until at the finale, the last girl standing gets to pick between the super rich, super hot guy and $250,000. I don't know. I'm no math whiz like Bertie, but I don't think there's $250,000 in that jar. Dawn like scoffs at this and she asks,
Who would ever pick the guy?
You. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be you, Dawn. Emily continues to coach Dawn on how the Honey Pot works, and she sets up this running joke about how nobody ever eats on reality shows. I don't really know how accurate this is. The only reality show I watch is Big Brother, where they stream it 24/7 and you can watch them sleep. So they just kind of like eat like normal people on that. So Dawn's standing in the kitchen and she's like, man, I sure wish I hadn't spent my Paris fund. And right then Bertie walks in and she hears that. So obviously she's like really guilty and like feeling so sorry for Dawn. Just kidding. She like goes off on her.
Dawn Francis,
Dawn Francis,
that was not your decision to make.
you should have just let me die from that fall.
This is so like you trying to control every situation but your own.
And then she's like, also, you don't even fucking show anyone your art.
Piffle.
Biffle? After she's done teeing off on Dawn, she says, it's okay to be scared, but it's not okay to hide. So Dawn's like, all right, bet. In the next scene, Dawn and Emily are driving to Dallas for the Honey Pot audition. Emily's still coaching Dawn on the show, and they do this kind of like clothes changing montage thing, but for different types of girls in reality TV. Spoiler alert. These are the actual girls on the show. I mean, there are others, but these three girls, like, never rise above the archetype that they give them here. Like at all. So we've got dumb girl Cindy, who wears a pageant crown, baby crazy Eve, who's always talking about getting pregnant and like ovulating, and raunchy girl Heather, who likes to have sex and do farts. Dawn asks Emily what type of girl she would be, and Emily says she'd be the small town girl type. And for some reason, Dawn is like offended by this. You were welding in a barn before you went to your job where you wear what Spirit Halloween would sell as a waitress costume. Literally the next line she has after this in her interview with production is her saying the exact number of people that live in her town.
4,026.
Sorry, Dawn. You're not beating the small town girl allegations. But then the producer is like,
Is that why you want to be on the show? Larger pool of men to choose from?
you sick of banging your cousins, you dumb redneck? So Dawn tries to lie about loving the honeypot and cheats in her interview by reading notes she wrote on her hand like it's a math test. And she's caught immediately.
Somebody get security. How did she get in here? This is crazy.
Whoa!
I'm messing with you, girl.
Oh. Whew. I thought they were gonna kill her. Dawn comes clean, and the producer asks her like a pretty softball question. She just asks Dawn what she knows about Paris. And Dawn says,
Only that it's filled with light and art.
oh? Why is she talking about Paris like she's a time-displaced pilgrim from the 19th century? Only that it's filled with lights, and the water only gets you sick sometimes. So the producer's like, alright, perfect. We got a dummy. That's all I needed to hear. So they wrap up Dawn's interview, and the producer lady from before talks to her boss, this guy, producer Carl. The lady's producer Rachel, and she's like Dawn's #1 stan. I'm not actually totally sure why. I guess she just likes rednecks. Producer Carl, though, he's not into it. He just wants, like, influencer types with big social media followings to boost the ratings of the show. Producer Rachel pulls out her trump card, though. She says that she came up with something called the Paris twist. I wonder what that could mean. They're sending them to the wrong Paris. I don't know if that's really a twist so much as like a psychotic Willy Wonka style deception, but either way, producer Carl's not going for it. He doesn't like Hicks, so he just shuts that shit down. Dawn leaves the interview, and in the waiting area, we're introduced to influencer and I assume self-proclaimed leader of the honeypot hive, Lexi, played by Madison Pettis. You might remember her as The Rock's tutu-wearing daughter. Also, she was in Cory in the House. If you're like in your mid-20s to early 30s, you probably remember her from just like being around. Also, I don't think the honeypot hive ever gets mentioned again, which I guess makes sense because it's just these three unnamed extras and Eve, the ovulating girl. Stop trying to make honeypot hive happen. It's not gonna happen.
Wish me luck.
Or as they say in France, merde.
I don't think that's what that means. In the next scene, Emily and Dawn are back home playing pool at a local bar. The bar has like a chill-ass country vibe with some live music playing. Hell yeah, dude. Put on some Post Malone. Hit country artist Post Malone, who's only ever made country music and never done anything else. Don't look it up. They're vibing. The music's pretty good, you know. Is he alright? Finally, standing by the bar, we get our first look at our other two lead characters. Hunky Cowboy and Hat. Dawn and the cowboy are just like immediately staring at each other from across the room. So when Dawn goes up to the bar, the cowboy strikes up a conversation. And right away, the chemistry is not great.
Really? That is very cool.
Dawn starts ripping him up for being like a fake ass country boy. She's like, fucking clean boots, fancy hat. What are you, a fucking tech bro? Dawn's still not beating the small town girl allegations. So they go and dance together. The sparks are flying.
We were about to head out. I have an early morning.
Well, maybe not flying. When suddenly Dawn notices two genuine scumbags sexually harassing her sister. I love how they both just have like the same chain on. Dawn comes in pretty hot and exchanges words with one of the scumbags and sort of ushers her sister towards the door, but right as they're about to leave, oopsie, the scumbag calls Dawn small town trash. We know how she feels about being called small town, but Dawn, not wanting to escalate things too much, just fucking beats the shit out of this guy.
Oh!
She makes him apologize under threat of waterboarding, while the hunky cowboy holds back the other scumbag no problem. Dawn lets the guy up, but he runs his mouth some more, so she throws her drink in his face, and everybody just kind of leaves.
What happened to being my wingman? He's Jack. What do you want me to do?
You kidding me? That cowboy's awesome. I'd bang him. Dawn's back in her barn, girl bossing out that sculpture we saw earlier when the phone rings. What's this? I guess producer Carl changed his mind about rednecks, because Dawn's going to Paris. Hooray! Oh shit, wrong Paris. No! Dawn has a heartfelt little goodbye with her sisters and grandma.
I made you cookies for the plane.
Don't forget you have your checkup on Friday.
Uh-oh, dude, do not look out for Birdie. She'll fucking kill you. Dawn arrives at an empty warehouse? Oh no, it's an airplane hangar. All the girls in production are already there. Producer Carl's all dusty ass is like, why is she here? Producer Rachel is like, let's get this busted hick in some makeup. She still stands though. Dawn gives production a contract she signed that looks like War and Peace. And she's just like, a pretty long contract, but alright, I guess. So they're on the plane and the staff is laying on the French thing heavy. The flight attendant is like, oh, amuse-bouche, eau de champagne, mademoiselle. And Dawn's just like, oui. All the girls are here, they're doing their shtick.
I can't. I might be getting pregnant this week.
Dawn's like really trying to sell that she's really here to meet a man. But unfortunately, it's apparently her first day on Earth, so she says,
Super ready to meet a super steamy French guy.
The Rock's daughter clocks her right away. And she's got beef. It's on site. We cut to a few hours later, and the girls were all asleep. They announce they're preparing for descent, and Dawn notices all the windows are like covered up so they can't see outside. And she's like, what the fuck is that? And the girls are just like, oh yeah, they covered up the windows so we can't see outside. That way they can get our natural reactions when we get off the plane. Okay. So production is just fully on their bullshit at this point. They're handing out berets and French flags to all the girls. Producer Rachel is like, welcome to Paris. The flight attendant's still speaking French. So the plane lands. They made it to France. Hooray! Dawn's the first one to the exit. French flag in hand, beret on head. She's ready to take France by storm. The door opens, the stairs come down, and... I was starting to think they're not in France at all. There's a fucking tumbleweed. Producer Carl standing on the runway with his arms out like, ah? The flight attendant just immediately drops the whole French thing. One of the girls is literally like, weren't you just French a minute ago? And she's just like... Dawn's pissed. She says they're like less than an hour away from where she lives in Paris, Texas. She's like, were we just circling in the plane for 9 hours? And they're like, yeah, pretty much. Producer Carl's like... We promoted a dating show set in Paris. We never said it'd be Paris, France. What was all that on the plane then? Dawn's still standing there holding the French flag you gave her. So Dawn's like, fuck this, I'm going home because she lives down the street. But producer Carl tells her she can't leave until the leading man cuts her from the show or she'll lose her appearance fee. So she stays. But she's still pissed. They pull up to like a beautiful, sprawling ranch mansion. A ranchon, if you will. I wrote in my notes, the ladies walk up to a sick-ass mansion on a ranch. They're stoked. So that's pretty much the vibe of this scene. Producer Rachel tells them they're going to be living here for the show and says they're not going to get to meet the leading man until tomorrow. But we do get a name drop. Our leading man is a one Mr. Trey McCallum III. I wonder who that could be. I hope he has a cool hat. They go inside to check out the house. Producer Rachel is like, since we tricked you and you're in a completely different continent than you thought you'd be in, we assume you like didn't pack any of the right stuff. So she tells them they've got a bunch of like ranch clothes in something she calls the swag room. And the ladies are like really stoked about the swag room for some reason. But not Dawn. She's got all the swag she needs. Also, she lives down the street and her whole wardrobe is already like 60% denim. So while the rest of the girls like fight over a hat, Dawn just heads to her room, where we meet her new roommate, quirky, smart, scientist from Chicago, Jasmine. Dawn tells her she's from around here, and Jasmine's like, oh cool, maybe you can give me some tips. And Dawn just like takes the cowboy hat off Jasmine's head and like turns it around. And it kind of just looks exactly the same. And Jasmine's just like, thanks. Next morning, Dawn sees a horse and she's on that shit. She's not a small town girl though. She just likes horses. She's a horse girl. Just then from the shadows, dripping in farm sweat and charisma, emerges a golden Adonis and his hat. We're all shocked to see the ripped cowboy from the bar. Dawn and the cowboy are gagged.
What?
Ew.
Well, maybe not that gagged. The cowboy's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And then he's like, wait, are you here for the show? And Dawn's like, this lame show? No. I thought I was going to Paris, France. With the lights. She says she didn't come to be in her words, some land baron's ranch harem, which is apparently the funniest thing the cowboy and this other guy have ever heard, because they laugh like this.
Oh, that's funny.
Then Dawn is like, wait, are you here for the show? Then it like dawns on her, pun very much intended, that if he's here for the show, he doesn't really look like one of the influencer girls, so that must make him...
The honey?
Now, I told you I wasn't a tech bro.
That's right, our hunky cowboy is really Trey McCallum III, leading man of this season of the Honey Pot, and proud owner of this ranchon, also known as Gordito. This other guy's Jesus. I assume he's like a Tom Bombadil type, like a mysterious ancient protector of the ranch who's been here since long before even Trey McCallum I, or maybe even just time itself. And he just sort of hangs out and makes sure everything on the ranch is going good, regardless of which McCallum is running the place. Dawn and Trey formally introduce themselves. Dawn's like, hey, I'm Dawn. It's so great to meet you. You have to kick me off the show. Trey's like, oh, not gonna happen. Every excuse Dawn tries throwing at this guy, he's got an answer for. She says she doesn't like horses. He says, sure you do, you're a horse girl. She says horse poop's gross. He says, well then don't touch it. She says, I like girls, and he says,
There's a whole harem waiting outside for you.
I want to watch that movie. Also, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Trey's fit in this scene. Well, not so much his fit as just his shirt. He's wearing this open front plaid button down with the sleeves cut off. I don't know if that's like normal farm attire, but it doesn't seem very practical. Dawn doesn't seem to mind, but I don't know if she's the best judge because her only frame of reference is Freddie Benson, who's notoriously drip free. So back inside the house, Dawn just casually reveals to producer Rachel that she lied about wanting to meet a man to get on the show so she could just get a free ride to France, pocket the appearance fee, and start going to art school. Producer Rachel tells her that her little white lie was actually more than just a little oopsie and was actually capital F fraud. But she's still Dawn's #1 stan, so she's just like, definitely don't tell anybody about this or they're probably going to sue the shit out of you. They round up all the girls outside and they do like an epic reveal for Trey where he rides in on a horse while a guy from production runs around with a fog machine. This is supposed to be what production calls an ensemble date, so they all go to the super sick poolside party yard behind the ranch inn to have like a group dinner. This guy from production gets so overwhelmed trying to figure out how to put down a plate of hot wings that he just like falls over like one of the Three Stooges. He's like, whoa! And he launches a bunch of shit everywhere. Dawn and lead influencer Lexi are sitting across from each other at the table. We've established Lexi has beef with Dawn. And to drive this point home, Lexi eats a piece of garnish from one of the plates. I'm not really sure why that would have an effect on Dawn, but it works. And Dawn responds by taking 10 minutes to eat one chicken wing while leaving 90% of the meat on the bone. This could be anyone's game. Producer Carl, by the way, is genuinely perplexed by this. He's like, what are they doing? Nobody eats on reality shows. I know this is just a reference to their running joke about this, but this guy's entire job is reality TV production. Why does he act like he's never heard of editing? Between that last line and right now, I ate 2 whole chickens. I just cut it out. Like, it's pretty safe to assume the only reason they don't show people eating on reality shows is because it's just, like, not interesting. Like, I'm sure they don't show them going to the bathroom either, but that doesn't mean it's like Harry Potter where they just shit their pants and then, like, magic it away. That 10% of a chicken wing Dawn ate is kicking her ass, so she has to chug a whole glass of rosé. Trey's meeting all the girls. They're doing their shtick.
I want to imagine it.
Lexi gets jealous, so she runs over and says some shit about the Alamo.
May I?
Yeah, is it,
Ew. Dawn and Trey start talking, and the producers are immediately like, do they know each other? Lexi tries to say they should be disqualified for this, which Dawn is obviously stoked about, but the producers are like, nah, it's fine, I guess, as long as they didn't bang. Later on that night, they have their first elimination ceremony, where they're getting rid of 10 girls at one time. I guess they were like, shit, that's too many girls. The eliminations work how I'm pretty sure they work in The Bachelor, but instead of giving roses to the girls that Trey wants to stay, he gives them golden boot spurs. We're down to just one spur, and Dawn still hasn't been picked. And they're like building suspense here, which feels weird because like obviously he's gonna pick her. Can you imagine if he didn't? He's just like, and I pick Rebecca. Sorry, Dawn. Movie's over, go home. So he picks Dawn. Shocker.
Dawn.
Oh wait, she actually looks shocked. Afterward in their room, Dawn's roommate Jasmine tells her that she's stoked they're both still there, even though they're supposed to be competing. They're kind of building her up as like too much of a science nerd to know what the fuck's going on, and she seems like she's not really that into Trey anyway. She says she doesn't meet many men like him at the lab where she works. Well, she would have said that, but they did this like really obvious ADR to make her say males instead of men.
I don't meet many males like him in the lab where I work.
I guess they didn't think the like quirky scientist thing was coming across enough. So Dawn's like, what are the males like? And she says,
Mice. Mostly.
mice. So I guess her coworkers are mice, or like her friends are mice. I don't know, she doesn't really specify. The next scene, it's daytime. Dawn's walking past all the girls outside, but they stop to show the stooge from earlier waving at Jasmine. But she seems into it. I guess she didn't see him slip and fall and poop his pants earlier. Dawn's on her artist shit drawing some horses when she notices Trey standing by a horse taking his shirt off. And it's the ripped abs scene from the trailer. Trey's scrubbing the horse down in slow-mo. They zoom in on his cheeks.
I keep it juicy, I eat that lunch.
The whole time Dawn's just standing like right there staring at him. So eventually he's just like, hey Dawn. And she gets spooked and leaves. She's a horse girl. They spook easy. In the next scene, the girls all go to work on the ranch with Trey. This isn't like a challenge or like a reward. So I guess I just wanted to get some free labor out of them. Dawn dresses like a homeless person as part of her ongoing campaign to get kicked off the show. Not much happens, but Trey and Dawn have some banter, and when he goes to leave, she just fucking lassos him around the legs and takes him down like a Batman villain. They like wrestle and chase each other around. Dawn steals his hat. Just all normal things you would expect to see from two adults flirting. or like 2 dogs at the park. Trey also mentions that that's his lucky hat, so we get some character development for the hat. Later that night while they're hanging out in their room, Dawn tells Jasmine the truth that she just came on the show to get to France and pocket the appearance fee. Jasmine's like, yeah, that tracks actually. Except the part where you pocket the appearance fee, because if you stay and win the dating challenges, you can win like $30,000 in cash prizes. And Dawn's like, what? That part wasn't in the notes she wrote on her hand. Jasmine tells Dawn that she doesn't need the money because she has a patent pending for a treatment for male pattern baldness. I guess the mice she works with are bald. Bunch of bald scientist mice running around curing mundane conditions. Wait, that sounds kind of sick, actually. I want to watch that movie. I think they're just trying to solidify Jasmine as like a non-threat to Dawn, so she can just be like her nice, supportive friend, because she also says that she actually did come here for love, but her and Trey are just too different, and she's not into him. But she's still stoked to be here because she wants to like do some science on the other girls or something. Can somebody check her bag for mice? Now that they've set up that there's date challenges, we get to see our first one. The girls all walk into a spooky dark barn, Trey's already there, and they do this like big ominous reveal of a mechanical bull. The first time I watched this movie, when I got to this scene, I was like, oh, what's that under the sheet? A mechanical bull? And then Trey pulls off the sheet in slow-mo, and it's a mechanical bull. Like, what else was that gonna be? He like goes to pull the sheet off, and he's like, it's actually the entire city of Paris, France. That's right. It was here the entire time.
Now.
Yeehaw! So whoever lasts the longest on the bull gets $5,000 and a date with Trey. The girls hop on the bull one at a time, and it's either really hard or they're all terrible at it, because they all fall off in less than 10 seconds. Is it always that bouncy? It's Dawn's turn. She hops on that thing, grabs the reins, and she does fine. I mean, better than the other girls. She lasts like 14 seconds. Next up, influencer and outspoken Dawn hater Lexi steps up to the plate, and Lexi, strategic mastermind that she is, tells Trey,
Low and slow, if you please.
low and slow? I didn't know we were taking requests. And then Trey just does that. The bull just barely moves while Lexi does this like sexy little number featuring the world's slowest twerk. And then after a minute, she just like gets off. They don't even show her time. The whole scene was in slow-mo. That could have been like 2 seconds. And Lexi's just like, I guess I win. And nobody questions it. It's a shame Dawn didn't go after Lexi. She could have just been like, yeah, could you just not actually move the bull at all?
Yeah, totally, dude. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thanks, man, because that seems really hard, and I really want $5,000.
Yeah, no problem, yeah.
We cut to Trey and Lexi's date. Production put a bunch of like flowers and candles and shit around the pool out behind the ranching. They got some champagne and a plate of strawberries and whipped cream. Producer Carl sees the strawberries and says,
Watch it, she's not gonna touch them.
Okay, that one actually kind of made me laugh for some reason. Dawn sees them out there popping champagne, and she either hates fun or someone's jealous.
Was that a coyote? I just don't do coyotes.
What? I literally wrote in my notes, I'm gagged. I guess everyone's just feeling it in this movie. Hope the stooge likes mice. Alright. We're back. Got a costume change. Props to the costume department. It's my dresser. I've been working on this video for like 2 weeks or something now, so that's alright, we're gonna get through this. And I promise by the end of this video will be shorter than the 1 hour 47 minute runtime of the movie. I don't know by how much, but it'll be shorter. Alright, where were we? Dawn's sneaking around, hiding behind trees like Sly Cooper when she runs into 2 guys from the film crew, also hiding in the bushes. And for some reason they act like she caught them, because instead of just like telling her to fuck off, they're like, shh. Like, they're just doing their jobs. Dawn's the one on a video game stealth mission. So Dawn's watching Lexi and Trey from her hiding spot in the bushes. Lexi does that classic thing where she's like, oh, my neck is so sore. And Dawn's like, that's not gonna work. And the production guys are like, but then it does work. And Dawn's like, I'm not even mad, I just think it's really funny. So Trey's giving Lexi a back rub, which she has a normal reaction to.
Oh, that is the spot. Oh, good lord.
Lexi kisses Trey. At this point, Dawn's like halfway out the bushes, like the Homer Simpson meme. And she channels our favorite stooge from production with a little slapstick buffoonery of her own. The planter box topples under the weight of Dawn's unmitigated jealousy as she plummets into the pool. She also like kicks the plate of food into the air, blasting Trey and Lexi with whipped cream. I don't really have a joke for this one. Actually, why don't I let Lexi take it?
Right up until Shamu showed up.
Thanks, Lex. Next scene, the girls are in the barn again for another date challenge. Trey starts out by pointing out the wagon full of produce behind him. So I was like, okay, they're doing like a cooking challenge. But then I noticed they're all holding axes. And for some reason I imagined a challenge where they'd have to cook a meal, but like the only tool they could use was the axe. They're like trying to fucking slice a tomato, but they just keep smashing it. The raunchy girl's trying to figure out how to flip a burger. No, I just didn't notice the targets they're standing in front of at first. The challenge is axe throwing. The reward is cooking a meal for Trey. Or with Trey. But I got a pretty good feeling that guy's not gonna cook. Now, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I'm actually a bit of an expert on this.
I'm something of a scientist myself.
I used to work at an axe throwing place as like an instructor, but that didn't really help me in the scene because they don't get any instruction, and it shows. There are also roughly 0 safety measures in place, but I'm sure that won't come up. Living up to their performance in the bull riding challenge, the girls are all pretty much terrible at this. The goal is just to be the person who gets the closest to the bullseye, but most of them don't even get the axes to stick in the target. Jasmine lets the rage out, so she actually does pretty good, but she also does it with her eyes closed. So she doesn't do that great. If I were them, I'd actually be a little scared of Jasmine after this. Maybe she should invent a medicine that makes you chill out a little bit. Still feeling the burn from the cream incident. Dawn's here to win this one, and since she's the main character of this movie and also life, she hits a bullseye right down the middle. Right after this, the raunchy girl throws the axe, like about how you'd expect her to.
Watch this, baby.
And it bounces back and hits her in the face and she dies. Just kidding. They seem to apply like cartoon logic here, because the next time we see her, she's completely fine. So with that bullseye, Dawn wins the competition, along with the dinner date with Trey and the cash. For anyone keeping track, she already has the $20,000 from her appearance fee, and she wins another $10,000 from this challenge, bringing her total up to $30,000. Right before the scene ends, producer Carl is talking to the stooge, but then he remembers he hates him, so he's like,
Why am I talking to you?
I don't know.
don't you have a fucking table of food to fall through or something? Or like a fucking banana peel to slip on? We cut to Trey and Dawn in the kitchen of the ranch, and Trey comments on Dawn's knife skills, and she says she uses a lot of different tools on her sculptures. Knives? Dawn's just in the barn fucking slashing the shit out of a piece of sheet metal. Dawn lists off the menu for the evening: watermelon mint salad, corn succotash, and rosemary drop biscuits. Trey asks,
Oh my god. Should we just get married already?
off of that? I wasn't sure what succotash was, other than something Sylvester the cat says, so I looked it up and it's basically just like another salad. So she just made 2 side dishes and biscuits. Where's the meat? Hell yeah, dude, meat? Can I get a hell yeah for some meat? Actually, I don't think I've seen any other animals on this farm other than horses, and a baby goat one time, but the baby crazy girl Eve just kind of pulled that out of hammer space for a bit. I don't know, I guess they didn't want to show Dawn grilling up some horse burgers. Actually, horse burgers are off the menu anyway, because Dawn says this is the only thing she knows how to cook, to which Trey replies,
The only thing that I can make is a grilled cheese sandwich.
I told you this guy can't cook. I took one look at Trey McCallum III, and I knew he wasn't cooking. Also, I feel like I should point out, they had a lot of faith in the contestants' ability to cook. They're lucky Dawn knew what succotash was. Like, what if whoever won didn't know how to cook? I guess producer Carl was just like, what do you mean? They're women. Of course they know how to cook. I'm also confused about whose idea it was to have them cook a meal in the first place, considering producer Carl had a meltdown when Dawn ate 12 calories of a chicken wing. He probably had to leave the building during this scene. He's probably out pacing in the driveway like, oh, it just doesn't make sense. Trey feeds Dawn a piece of watermelon and she kind of just eats it like a baby. Then in the next shot, there's like this big conspicuous glob of watermelon on Dawn's mouth. And the whole time, I'm just praying Trey doesn't eat it.
So,
Oh, thank God. It's just Dawn eating like a lizard. Things get a little too steamy.
Super steamy.
So Dawn cuts the tension by giving Trey a nice friendly pat on the back.
Biscuits, they're ready. You should get those biscuits.
Dawn makes the mistake of asking Trey where the honey is, and he says,
I'm the honey.
Dawn opens the pantry door to look for the honey, and it turns out a bunch of the girls were hiding in there doing cocaine. Oh wait, no, they're just eating. I guess they didn't want to break producer Carl. Dawn just kind of shuts the light back off and leaves them there in the dark. We cut to an actually pretty sick balcony area at the ranch inn where Dawn and Trey are having their dinner. Trey says he didn't actually grow up here, his mom traveled a lot, and his dad was a city boy, which we know is like the worst thing you can be. Just above small town. So he would just spend his summers at the ranch, and then the mystical druid from before, Jesus, would take over for the rest of the year. But Dawn didn't hear anything Trey said after City Boy, so she's just like, fucking told you. Trey denies this because I guess being a country boy is really more about vibes than anything. He says that his dad would never understand his innate need to be on the ranchin', and he asks Dawn if she knows what it feels like to want something so much she would do anything to get it. She says she does, and when he asks what that thing is, she gets spooked and kind of just runs out of there like Scooby-Doo. Have I ever wanted something? Oh shit, he's gonna find out about France! We have our next date challenge. Trey calls it Cowboy Boot Camp, and it's basically just like an obstacle course with a few sections. And also they have to feed some pigs at the end?
Feed the pigs. They'll love you for it.
Trey says,
After Eve's elimination, it's down to you 6.
and at first I was so confused. I didn't remember who Eve was, so I was just like, maybe the raunchy girl did die? Like she was eliminated from this earth? But no, Eve is the baby crazy girl, and they just kind of eliminated her off screen. The cash prize for this challenge is up to $15,000 this time, and they don't specify what the date will be. I guess they just realized cooking for Trey as a reward fucking sucked, so they decided to just like take some time to brainstorm on this one. They start off the first portion of the challenge in pairs for some reason. Pairs, not Paris. But they're in that too. But not before everyone stops to make fun of the stooge for his gross exposed butt crack.
Oh! What a terrible day to have eyes.
Not Jasmine though. She liked it. The race starts and they run through some tires to get to a maze made of hay bales, where Jasmine uses some smart girl science to calculate the fastest path to the end.
Oh, they've used random mouse algorithm.
But you can see, this is like the easiest maze ever. It looks like the kind of thing you'd find on the back of a box of Captain Crunch. And also it's short enough that you can just see over it. But Dawn's like, this is literally impossible. So she just follows Jasmine because...
She's a genius!
Turns out she was right, because Jasmine and her partner are the first to grab the pig food and exit the maze. But she's good at science, not running, so she sort of just falls on the ground. Dawn was paired with Lexi for the first portion, so they're the first two to reach the plank, a long balance beam over some muddy water. Dawn's in the lead, but Lexi grabs her by the ponytail from behind and fucking yanks her back. Dawn's just immediately like, fuck it, we ball. And she just chucks the pig food in the mud. I guess all she cares about right now is beating Lexi's ass. Lexi's not shook though, because she just chucks her food bucket too and they just throw down. They obviously fall into the water like right away, so while they're down there mud wrestling, Jasmine and her partner just like casually walk to the end. During the chaos, a mic operator accidentally knocks the dumb girl's crown into the mud, and then she gets some mud on her, and she just has like a full-on meltdown over this.
I can't handle this anymore. This is not my fairy tale ending, and I want a cheeseburger!
I don't really know why she was so shocked about this. They're on a ranch. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised it took her this long to get some dirt on her. Trey ends up having to go into the mud to pull Dawn out himself. Producer Carl is stoked about all this, by the way.
This is amazing!
Since everyone was focused on Dawn and Lexi tearing each other apart to decide who gets to be the main character, Jasmine wins the challenge after basically competing completely unopposed. Producer Carl tries yelling some shit at Dawn through a megaphone, but he accidentally presses a button that I assume was labeled really loud fucking sound, because then it makes a really loud fucking sound and some horses nearby go fucking ballistic. They bust through this totally real fence. Trey sees Dawn in danger, so he jumps on top of her. That way, if something bad happens, they both die and he doesn't have to go on without her. The horses scatter into the woods, so Trey hustles to go round them up. Producer Carl wants him to stop so he can get a little soundbite, but Trey's just like,
Fuck off somewhere. I got work to do.
Dawn goes to jump on a horse, and Trey's like, what do you think you're doing? But Jesus the Druid vouches for Dawn.
She does have skills.
At first I was like, what's this guy talking about? You only ever saw Dawn, like, pet a horse. What do you mean she's got skills? But then I figured a psychic connection with the horses was probably well within the scope of this guy's powers as the ranch protector. So Dawn and Trey ride off on horses, and I guess even the writers didn't think this part was interesting, because it literally cuts from them riding off to search for the horses to them riding into a clearing with 2 horses in it, and they're like, these are the last 2, right? Trey's obviously learned some things from Jesus, because he does like some horse whispering. The horses love it. He kisses the horse. Should I look away? They ride back with the last 2 horses, and Dawn's like, I guess reality TV and horses don't really mix, huh? And Trey's like, no. Okay, cool. I'm glad we worked that out. Maybe next time we have this conversation before we kidnap 20 lonely women. Dawn asks Trey how the producers even found him for the show, and he reveals that he was the star of a recent viral video where he saved a kitten from a tree and handed it to a crying little girl. That's right, folks. He may be Trey McCallum III by day, but by night, he's the famous viral sensation Cowboy Saves Kitten. You might be wondering how this factors into the plot. It doesn't. I mean, it answers Dawn's question, but it's not really a question I had. I never wondered where they found Trey. I just figured they saw a 6'4" millionaire in a cowboy hat and were like, there's our guy. Dawn obviously loves the kitten thing, and when Trey realizes this, his mind goes to a very interesting place.
Oh, hell. If I'd known that that was going to get your attention, I would have just stashed kittens all the way around this ranch here.
And I gotta say, I'm fascinated by Trey's logic here. Even if the idea of hiding a bunch of kittens that'll just kind of wait there until you need to rescue them later made any sense, I think you'd start to have diminishing returns pretty quickly. After like the 3rd time, Dawn would be like, do we have a kitten problem? Is there like a mother cat around here somewhere that I don't see? Trey says Dawn's an enigma. because she keeps going back and forth between seeming like she likes being here and seeming like she hates it, and Dawn sums up her entire character in one sentence.
I don't hate this. I just hate that it's the only thing I've ever known.
So it's not the wrong Paris exactly. It's just not the right Paris for Dawn right now. We cut to the next elimination ceremony. They show this one. I guess they just said, fuck Eve. Kill her off screen. This time it's Cindy, the dumb girl. When she's the only one left not to get a spur, she stands up and announces that she forfeits all her winnings in order to stay, which has always been an option apparently. Unfortunately for her, she doesn't actually have any winnings, but she says,
I won this crown and that took real dedication.
that's pretty good.
She loved him.
Oh, she's serious? For a second I thought this actually worked, but it didn't. I guess they're just trauma bonded with the dumb girl. So they just set up this whole idea that you can forfeit your winnings for no reason. Or did they? Anyway, dumb girl leaves, but what's this? Trey pulls out a secret letter from production and reveals a new twist. They just keep on coming. For the finale of the season, the last 2 girls remaining and Trey will be going to Paris. Now you might be wondering how that's possible. They're already in Paris. But if you remember, there's actually another Paris that's not in Texas. I know. But not one to let a nice moment go on too long, Lexi confronts Dawn. She's salty because she thinks Dawn got a free date out of the horse thing. Listen, you could have laced up the spurs too. That's called initiative. Don't hate the player. Maybe you should take that up with Jesus. He's the mystical druid that gets to decide who's worthy of riding a horse. Lexi just doesn't trust Dawn. She thinks she's hiding something, and she is. But producer Karen is still Dawn's #1 stan, so she's like,
I got my eye on her.
Producer Carl gets a little feisty.
We've all got our eyes on her. She's on the monitor.
Okay. Later on, I guess Trey heard what Lexi said, because he's like, free date, that's a good idea. And he goes and knocks on Dawn's window at like 5 in the morning. They sneak out. We see the stooge is supposed to be monitoring the cameras, but he's asleep at the wheel. I assume with his hand in like a bag of chips or something. They run outside and we see this shot of Lexi creeping up, and they play this terrifying horror movie sting.
What time is it?
It's almost 6.
I thought you just wanted to get Dawn like kicked off the show. But now I'm like, is it about to take a turn? Is she gonna kill her? They hop in Trey's truck and they do a quick ad for the Ford F-150.
You know the best thing about electric trucks is? They don't make a sound when you're sneaking out. You ready to blow this joint?
Feels like a getaway.
I like how he's got hay in the back so you believe this is a work truck, but then they show the interior and it's like pristine. Trey also wants to turn this into a horror movie apparently, because Dawn asks where he's taking her and he says,
Ooh, I cannot tell you. I have an idea in my head.
this isn't lost on Dawn either. They pull up to the edge of some woods and she's like,
Is this where you take me into the woods and you murder me?
but don't worry, Trey diffuses the situation with one of his classic jokes.
Oh, I forgot my chainsaw back at the house. You mind if I grab that quick?
They arrive at their destination. It's this nice little wooded pond area surrounded by rocks that Trey calls his hideout. Now, if you're thinking, wow, that actually looks really nice. They have like lush blue water ponds like that in Texas. Like it almost looks more like Canada. That's because it is. They shot this movie in British Columbia. According to Trey, though, they're actually just on the ranch somewhere. They talk for a bit. Dawn says something about the timing is bad or something. I don't know. I honestly kind of zoned out. And then they bang. Right before they kiss, though, I remembered Lexi still hadn't showed back up, so I thought she was just gonna, like, jump scare them. I see y'all having another secret date. Incidentally, we actually do cut to Lexi right after this, but she's back at the ranch and she starts snooping through Dawn's bag. She finds her acceptance letter to art school in there, and she smirks like, oh, I found my smoking gun. Like, she's allowed to want to go to France. You all did. You thought you were going there until you stepped off the plane. We cut back to Dawn and Trey. Dawn mentions she only lives like 45 minutes away from here, and Trey's just like,
Oh, why don't we go there?
he says he wants to see her art, and then they're like,
It's kind of personal.
And what we did back there wasn't?
ew. So they go, and she shows him her art, and he just like immediately gets it completely. She shows him this ladder thing she made, and he's like, yep, ladder represents climbing up, then it's broken, got it. He's just like totally locked in. Except for this golden apple at the top, that part stumps him. So he asks Dawn, and she says it represents
The impossible dream.
He asks what that is. She says it's a secret, and he's just like, oh, you want to go to France, right? Why is he the only person that seems to get that this isn't like a big secret? Dawn lied about her reasoning for wanting to go on the show, but it's not like she's not allowed to want to go to France. That's like the reward for making it to the final 2 now. What's she gonna do if she gets there? She's just gonna be like, oh no, I don't think I can do that. I don't really like France. What? But you signed up to go there in the first place. No, sorry, I can't. I honestly, I don't want to. I just like never liked France. Trey says Dawn should just go with him to France for the show, and then they can just stay there and hang out for a bit and come back. He's like, I'm super fucking rich. We could just go to France. But Dawn's like, ooh, come back? I don't even speak French, but I was kind of just planning to stay there forever. Just then, Birdie busts in with a shotgun. She's like, you better say your prayers. Dawn's sisters are packing too. Is that an umbrella? They realize it's Dawn and they're pretty gagged. Birdie's like, who's the city boy? Trey introduces himself and Birdie's like,
You don't sound French.
I forgot they still think she's in France. By this point, I was just like, what other Paris? Hilton? That's not a place. That's a person. They're all in the kitchen catching up about how production hoodwinked Don. Trey offers to get the milk, and he's like,
Out in the barn with the cows.
you want me to suck the milk right out of the cow? Like, I thought you were a country boy. The vibes, remember? How come even he's dunking on the small towners now? Like, oh, you got a stick and some twigs I could rub together to get fire going? How about like a car with no bottom so I could run to the store like the Flintstones? Trey's looking at photos on the fridge. Birdie points out one of Dawn's mom, and she says,
She was the art teacher here till she passed.
she was the art teacher here? What, in the like one-room church that they also use as a school for the 12 kids in town? The small town allegations are actually starting to feel like they're too soft. What were once allegations are like pretty much a PR campaign at this point. Dawn wishes she was small town. This isn't even a small town. This is like a village. It's like a gathering. Birdie almost spills to Trey that Dawn was accepted to art school, but Dawn cuts her off, and Trey goes outside and gets his ass beat by a rooster. The city boy allegations are all we have now, but thankfully, he ain't beating them. Dawn tells her family not to mention art school because Trey doesn't know that the second she sets foot in France, you're never getting her out of there. She says she's just waiting for the right time to tell him, which I'm sure will be totally fine. On the ride back to the ranch-in, things get a little personal. Dawn tells Trey that her parents tragically died in a car accident when she was young. They lost control of the car when the writers realized that Dawn needed a reason to live with her grandma and her sisters. Trey reveals that he too has a tragic backstory. He was an only child with divorced parents. Wait, did I read that right? Dawn's right about to tell Trey the truth about France when, holy shit, slow down, you're gonna kill Carl! Producer Carl's really mad that they keep skipping out on the show. You'd think he'd be in a better mood for someone who just narrowly escaped death. He has this little meltdown.
You will have unrealistic dates and fantasy settings with incredible production value!
And Trey just hits him with his best Matthew McConaughey impression.
All right.
Alright. Lexi pulls Trey aside to drop her newly discovered bombshell on him that Dawn likes art and the country of France. Then Trey has his date with Jasmine that she won from feeding those pigs.
I love you for it.
But they don't show it. I guess it went well though, because the next thing we see is her receiving a spur at the next elimination, where we're down to just Dawn and Lexi. Looks like her France gate bombshell didn't work. Uh-oh, Trey's wearing all black. He's dark Trey. I got a bad feeling about this. I realize he actually wears black in all the elimination ceremonies, but I think being dark Trey is kind of like being a country boy in that it's really just about vibes. And the vibes are off with dark Trey. You sense it immediately when he starts to give his speech.
Final spur of the night goes to a girl who opened my eyes to something I didn't see coming.
Dawn looks a little confused. She's like, okay, I don't know why he'd say that. Probably just means our love. But then Trey picks...
Lexi.
I don't think I like dark Trey. Producer Karen doesn't like dark Trey either.
Sorry, you can't follow him. You have to go back.
It's a tough moment to be a Dawn stan. So I just want to point out real quick, the movie really seems to be moving at a clip at this point. They got like 15 minutes to wrap everything up, and we just spent the last hour and a half rolling in the mud and feeding pigs. I feel like even the writers were surprised that Dawn got eliminated, and now they're like, shit, what do we do? I thought she'd just win the show. They didn't see dark Trey coming. Nobody does. That's why he wears black. So it's a wrap for Dawn. Next scene, she's back at home, and girl is depressed. Honestly, Dawn, pick a struggle. Pick a Paris, okay? They can't both be the wrong Paris. You got your 30K. You got accepted to art school. What's the problem? Dawn's family's kind of trash-talking Trey.
I'm just glad that cop got him.
Dawn says she leaves for France tomorrow night, and they're just trying to like be supportive and say that they'll be fine without her. Birdie says she's proud that Dawn managed to make it to...
Paris. France.
Paris for what? Oh, France. France. We see Dawn in a CG plane. She looks out at Paris and she's like shaking her head, smiling. So there's not that many lights after all. World's a crazy place. Dawn, it's just daytime. Guy in the seat next to her is like, just found out about the lights. They show a montage of shots of Paris and...
So meet me in Paris.
What?
Leave everything.
Oh shit, that is a lot of lights. Dawn walks past the most aggressively French guy you've ever seen painting a landscape. They linger on him for a second after Dawn walks by so we can really take in how French this guy is. And here we are. Dawn arrives at the Académie des Arts de Paris. I don't speak French. We see Dawn in class doing a sculpture of a live model. Her teacher obviously thinks she's great. But look at this sculpture. That's not even the right pose. Dawn's looking at the back of her head, sculpting the front of her face. Like I said, the movie is cooking at this point. So next thing we know, Dawn's sitting at a cafe. Someone serves her a croissant. Sorry, a croissant.
Croissant.
And what's this? It's Carmen Sandiego.
Spare.
Oh wait, no, that's producer Rachel. She's like, I promise I'm not stalking you. I just happened to see you when I was on my way to your house, which I found by getting your address from the production department of the TV show that you were on. I don't know, that kind of sounds exactly like stalking. Rachel explains that she's in Paris to shoot the finale. You remember the second Paris twist. And she says it's down to Jasmine and Lexi. Boo, Lexi! She reminds Dawn she's still her #1 stan, but she's not just here to say hello to Dawn and follow her back to her house. She reveals Lexi's France-gate scheme to Dawn, finally explaining why Dawn was eliminated in the first place. Dawn's like, honestly, yeah, that makes sense. I did lie and I was gonna leave him in France. But Rachel has a plan, a stan plan. She says she thinks Dawn can convince Trey to take her back if she forfeits her winnings and returns to the show, like the dumb girl tried to do. See, you thought it wasn't going to come back. Cindy didn't die in vain. I don't know if I mentioned, her name was Cindy. I noticed a couple issues with this plan. First of all, what's the limit to this forfeiting your winnings power? You can just get eliminated, leave the show, then be like, you know what, I actually kind of like that guy, and come back? In the finale? How are they even going to shoot that? The editors are going to be like, we got 42 minutes of airtime per episode. We don't have time for this shit. But also, why would Dawn give up money that she needs just to go have this conversation with Trey as a part of a reality show? She could just, like, call him, you know, for free. Like, how does it make sense for her to lose money just so she can have this conversation in a setting that's going to make it 100 times harder for Trey to believe her? In case you forgot, if Dawn goes back on the show for the finale, they're also going to give her the option to take $250,000 over Trey. Even Dawn thinks this part's crazy. She's like,
If I do it on camera, he's not gonna believe a single word that I say.
but I don't know why I'm getting frustrated, because producer Rachel thought about this too, and she has the perfect explanation.
You know that's not how it works, right?
Oh, is it not? Do you think maybe you could show your work? Do you think you could maybe expand on that? But this whole conversation's pretty much for naught, because Dawn says she literally can't afford to give up her winnings, so that's probably not going to happen. Producer Rachel tells her they sent a dress to her house in case she changes her mind.
But if you don't come, please definitely keep the tags on. It has to go back.
Right before she leaves, producer Rachel stops to comment on the drawing Dawn's working on, and just look at this fucking drawing. Are you shitting me? Dawn, be so for real. What are we doing here? You're sitting here in the right Paris drawing a cowboy? After all this? What about your dream? The golden apple, remember? I still can't with this. We're backstage at the finale. Trey's suiting up. Uh-oh, all black. He's Dark Trey. I got a bad feeling. Trey's all pouty. He's like, I don't even want to be here. He says he's definitely not about to marry Jasmine or Lexi. And Carl's like, that's fine. Lexi's probably going to get her own season. And I think Jasmine likes the stooge.
For some reason.
Fuck that guy. All he does is slip and fall and poop his pants and slip in the poop. And producer Rachel's in a car with Lexi and Jasmine when they see Dawn. Lexi's obviously pissed. Rachel hops out of the car and tells the driver to circle the block with the girls, and he just fucking peels out. He was like, say no more. Rachel runs up to
Juan!
Did she say Juan?
Juan!
So Juan gives Rachel her winnings from the show in a brown envelope like it's a drug deal. Producer Carl comes in hot. He does a little parkour move. And he's like, hell no, Dawn cannot be here. He's not into the forfeiting the winning thing either. Eventually, Rachel just tells him to
Shut the hell up, Carl, and please, let me win us an Emmy.
Even Carl's like, it's about time somebody told me to shut up. They scramble to get Dawn all mic'd up and made up for the show, and she walks out to surprise Trey. He's surprised, but he's not happy. He says,
Didn't have to pretend to be into me.
Trey feels like he was lied to. They have this whole back and forth, but ultimately Trey goes for the throat when he says,
What were you gonna do once you got here?
Stay.
There it is.
oh, well, good, there you go. She was gonna stay. Oh, she means in France. Dawn opts to go for the producer Rachel style explanation, and she's just like, I don't know, I thought it'd be fine. He asks how they were gonna work it out if she never told him the truth, and she says,
I really did try.
when? Was that in this movie? Trey's not buying that either, so as a final Hail Mary, she pulls out the golden apple from the sculpture, the impossible dream, and gives it to Trey and leaves. So, this is your dream now? That's it? Your dream changed from going to France to pursue your art to banging this cowboy? Producer Rachel decides that now is the time to finally tell Trey that Dawn gave up the money to come back for this, and he just immediately flips a switch and is like, what? No, she needs that money. Jasmine and Lexi show up, and Jasmine says that she just saw Dawn crying out front. I guess the crocodile tears and a couple bucks was all it took to change his mind, because Cowboy saves Kitten, rushes off to go save another innocent victim. Lexi, as always, is pissed, but when she tries to go after Trey, Jasmine locks her and producer Carl's dumbass outside. Trey busts out the front door to some Star Wars music. He catches up to Dawn and he just asks why she gave up the money. And she says,
Because you're my dream now, too.
oh, so we could just have two dreams now? Was that even the real golden apple? Trey's like, oh my god, the golden apple. I can't believe you would give this to me. Oh no, it's fine. I just made another one. Yeah, this way I get to have both things. Trey says he's missed Dawn. She asks if that means he forgives her, and he says,
Yeah, it does.
he says she needs to stay in France and finish school. He's even like, I'll just pay for it. I'm like super rich. But that'd be like too easy, I guess. Even though Dawn just blew her entire tuition just to have this conversation with him. The production crew catches up to Trey and Dawn and they're just like, turn the cameras on. This is great. I was gonna say something about how crazy it was that they had Dawn walk out into the backyard to have her big TV reunion with Trey. When there's this like perfect, beautiful shot of the Eiffel Tower out front. But I went back to look and the Eiffel Tower is in the backyard too. I mean, I guess maybe it was in the backyard, but Jasmine did say they were out front, so. Before they can turn their mics back on, Trey cooks up a scheme. He says Dawn shouldn't have to choose between her two dreams. So he's probably fine with the two apples, actually. Sounds like he would have done the same thing. He says she should just reject him on TV and take the honeypot. Remember, they have the option to take 250 grand over the guy, and then they can just be together anyway. Looks like he used his dark Trey powers for good this time. So Trey gets down on one knee and he does this heartfelt proposal.
I ain't ever dated anyone with bigger spurs than mine.
Knowing that Dawn is gonna say no.
Will you take the money? Or will you take the honey?
And she's like, money please? And everyone from production who just heard all this, like, cocks their head like a dog that just heard a weird noise. Lexi looks like she's about to do a Tim Allen. Dawn and Trey have a big kiss. Somebody at the Eiffel Tower was watching them through a telescope apparently, because the whole thing lights up. And I'm just like, can they do that? This plan kind of seems like an inherent flaw in the show. Trey mentioned that they couldn't share the winnings, but she can still just take it and agree for them to be together? Why wouldn't people just do this every time they want to get together? It's just free money. Producer Carl is immediately like,
they can't do that.
But producer Rachel must know there's like 30 seconds left in this movie. So she just says,
It makes for one hell of an ending.
So Dawn asks Trey what their plan is now. And Trey's like, I guess you just stay here and finish school. And I guess I'll just also stay here with you. And then we can just go back to Texas. Or we can just like go back and forth as much as we want. Honestly, I'm very rich and you just got a whole shitload of money. So we can kind of just do whatever we want. That's like the whole thing about being rich. They do one more big kiss and that's it. The wrong Paris. I don't even know where to start with this outro. I honestly had a ton of fun putting this video together. Writing it, shooting it, editing it. I was just having a field day the whole time. I hope I didn't seem like I was like dunking on this movie too much. Obviously, I'm not like the target audience for this kind of thing, but it's really not the worst movie ever. I wouldn't want anyone who liked this movie to feel like I'm like calling them dumb. And I think everyone in the cast pretty much did a good job. Pierson, Fode, and Miranda Cosgrove maybe didn't have the best chemistry. That's right, I know her name. But everyone did like a good job selling the characters. Pierson Fode is honestly super charismatic and charming. Even I was getting misted by him. I was like, France who? I'd stay in Texas. Like, he maybe didn't have a lot to work with. But like, aside from the silliness of the script, I believe that Trey was like a real guy. Like, I wasn't ever sitting there thinking, oh, this is a movie and I'm watching this guy acting. If you like this kind of thing, it's a perfectly good movie. There are actually some funny moments. If you like hunky cowboys, and especially if you like Texas, maybe you'll have a fun time with it. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you've watched all the way to this point, thank you. That's wild. I can't believe that someone would listen to me talk for an hour about a movie. But I had fun doing it. If you have any ideas for other things you'd like to hear me talk about, other movies or just anything, let me know down below. Or if you just want to say what's up, I'll be there. I'll say what's up.
What up?
I'm sure I'll make more videos like this regardless, but I appreciate the feedback. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, also like and subscribe. All right, thanks. Bye.